All right, let's give out some game balls.
I wonder where my ball is going.
Yeah. Well, this is the segment where we highlight some other players. Greg, to take you behind the scenes here. When Caleb was pulled from this game, Braggs was pulled from this game.
I was.
He was in his phone celebrating on social media the rest of the game.
Oh man, it's just so beautiful. All the different, people talking about it. It's just,
yeah.
I want to share in this shock and awe that we're all in. I just can't believe it. I said I can't believe it probably 100 times today.
You really did, and that was before halftime.
I can't believe it.
I don't even think you realized you were doing it because you were just like kind of mumbling to yourself. I can't believe it.
I cannot believe it.
Well,
we deserve this.
I would like to give a game ball similar to what Steven just mentioned before the break to head coach Matt Eberflus. And we know this is the case because the GM came on later, and I think we have that quote to share with you too, because he came on the television broadcast and said that, and here's a quote from Ryan Poles, "I'm proud of our coaches for sticking with that first group for longer than was planned." So they made an in-game adjustment and said,
"What's in his mouth?"
Probably some gum.
Piece of gum.
Oh, he's a big gum guy. I'm a big gum guy too.
Then
Sorry.
How come you didn't realize that was gum?
I
bet you Ryan Poles doesn't swallow his gum.
I threw you off your spot. I'm sorry.
I guarantee you Ryan Poles does not swallow his gum.
That was a carm. I did a carm there.
Now you're trying to avoid that. Okay. But
I do swallow
in all seriousness, you're trying to accomplish some things here in the preseason, and that move to keep Caleb Williams and most of the first team still in there, while also acknowledging that you didn't have to keep DJ Moore and Keenan Allen in there. I love that. I love that. So game ball to Matt Eberflus. It paid off because you got the positivity, the rewards that you wanted to get out of this game today, and everybody stayed healthy at the same time. Also want to give a game ball to Dante Pettis because Pettis had a good week of practice too. Like he was popping out there. He had a good day against the Bengals in practice the other day, and he took that to the game. So strong week for Dante Pettis. Now the only thing is, I really feel like his road to securing a roster spot is doing a good job as a punt returner too, and I didn't love how he ran backwards on his punt return and lost yardage. So I don't know and he had that drop, was it 2 weeks ago or one of the 2 weeks he had a drop on the punt return too. Yeah. So you don't want to see that either. However, from an offensive standpoint, looked really, really good today, looked really good all week. So also a game ball to Dante Pettis.
Yep, that's a good one. My game ball is going to go to Rome Odunze. Yes, he didn't get his feet in bounds, kind of lost where he was in the corner of the end zone when Caleb Williams pulled just an unbelievable play, and they'll make that adjustment because, you know what? Who would have thought Caleb would have figured out how to make that play in the corner of the end zone, but he did, and Rome's going to be ready for it next time, I have no doubt. But at the end of the day, he did get to the right spot where he needed to go. Now, just make sure your feet are where they need to be, and we're good. Outside of that, he had the end around where, man, he really shows that burst on that play. I know he gets past the linebacker on it, but like his speed is very deceiving because he's so big that it doesn't look as fast as like a Tyler Scott, right? So it's a deceiving type of speed combined with his size. And I'm also combining his overall last few days because at the joint practice, he had the slant route that he caught that he probably would have turned up field for a touchdown. And from all the different reports, sound like a very competitive practice. Now you take DJ Moore and Keenan Allen off and let him be the wide receiver one today. He makes the throw over the top. Caleb Williams doing just this unbelievable jump man out of the pocket that is going to become his signature play. But watch Rome Odunze in the way that he tracks that football. And he, that was his moment, his first moment to show Bears fans, on the television stage, just how well he is at coming down with those kind of balls, the 50-50 balls, and having the kind of hands that made him the reason that he was a top 10 pick. Any other time, A guy like Rome Odunze would come to the Chicago Bears and be their number one wide receiver out the gate. He's not. He's their third guy behind two very good guys ahead of him. Any other time, a wide receiver taken in the top 10 by the Chicago Bears would have all the attention on him. Well, he's not, because Caleb Williams was drafted number 1 by this team. And this is just speaks to this environment that's conducive to healthy development of the players across the board. And Rome Odunze is going to thrive from that environment that Chicago has created for him, that Ryan Poles has created for him. And I'm so excited to see this guy's trajectory on this team with this quarterback.
I got a couple more too. Daniel Hardy had a holding penalty on the opening kick return, which was not good. The rest of his game was outstanding. Had a sack. He had 2 quarterback hits. He had 2 tackles for loss, and he also added a tackle on special teams as well. Interesting to see Daniel Hardy, by the way, on kick return to start the game. Sort of a bigger body, something that we're kind of watching too in terms of personnel. But he had a really good game. And also Josh Blackwell. We actually got confused when Josh Blackwell came in and made that really nice when he batted the ball up in the air, which led to the interception, right?
Yep.
We just figured that was still Kyler.
Yeah.
Because Kyler was just coming out of that slot position and over and over and over again. And all of a sudden, here he comes again. But no, this time he's wearing 39. And that was Josh Blackwell, which, again, goes back to what you were talking about earlier. The depth they have.
And Eberflus is just like, send the hounds. Yeah. Like, blitz all day. It's like, remember the Titans. Like, Jesus, like, show some mercy, Matt Eberflus.
Well, we got a little peek of that on Hard Knocks last week, where we saw Eberflus versus the Bills. Fourth quarter, he's yelling, takeaways, takeaways, takeaways. So he's still trying to, show something.
And we've seen this at camp, these blitzes by DBs coming off the edge. And Kyler's been out a little bit, so it has been Josh Blackwell at times coming off the edge. But here was both of them today. I mean, holy moly, that hit by Kyler Gordon was insane. The old segments on ESPN, you got jacked up. I mean, that was the quintessential jacked up moment there. But yes, Josh Blackwell. And he's getting in on the return game too. He's starting to push his way up to the top of the food chain on the punt return game.
Well, 2 players in this game had a sack and 2 tackles for loss. One of them was Daniel Hardy. Who was the other one?
Josh Blackwell. No?
A sack and 2 tackles for loss.
Sack and 2 tackles for loss. I blacked out. Caleb Williams.
No, it's Kyler Gordon.
Oh, Kyler Gordon.
But those are defensive lineman numbers.
Don't ask me trick questions.
No, my point is that's D-line. That's a D-line stat line.
Right.
And it's your nickel corner.
Right.
With a sack and 2 TFLs in the game.
He's big too, man. He's long and big, And back to Daniel Hardy. He's definitely pushing Dominique Robinson. I know Dominique spoke to the media and talked about some of the different things that he's been doing here this offseason and trying to get ready. But you see those moves that Daniel Hardy made, specifically that spin cycle, that was an aggressive Dwight Freeney type of move. I'm not saying he's Dwight Freeney, but at the same time, that was an impressive move he put on. And that's 2 weeks in a row that he's making plays. Somebody asked me on Twitter, who's going to be the Terrell Lewis of this team that you're going to freak out about? Well, I mean, if Daniel Hardy keeps playing like this, he might be that one that I'm pounding the table that we need to make sure he stays on this roster.
Well, remember, he was here last year on the practice squad. So, maybe he's somebody who ends up back on the practice squad.
Again, speaking to the development that Matt Eberflus deserves credit for.
Right. Because he was actually in the 2022 draft, was drafted by the Rams, but basically didn't play and was hurt most of that first season. Then he got signed to the practice squad of the Bears last August after being in training camp with the Rams. So basically spent the time on the practice squad, developed behind the scenes, and now we're seeing pretty interesting preseason from him, to say the least. So, I think Daniel Hardy rightfully deserves a shout-out in this game. Anyone else that you got? The other one I was going to give was Bajan, but we kind of talked about Bajan.
Let me get into my notes here, because look, I'm taking notes now. I'm taking
now
notes
we're really
now.
in trouble.
But I did completely black out at halftime. and pass out on Austin Booker. You know, we haven't talked about Austin Booker. Really, like just week to week, watching his pursuit of the football. Even, you know, he'll come across a play, but he stays with it. And at one point on one of them where he came across, you know, he did a stunt inside and he kind of got lost away from the play, and then the quarterback stepped up and he came over and got in on the tackle. I looked over at you. I go, that looked right. That looked right. You know, and so he's continuing to get in on the action. He's certainly somebody that is standing out to me. It's just, that's something to continue to monitor. I don't want to put too much expectation on a rookie DN, as Corey Wooten has told us so many times, like how much of an adjustment that is, and especially for somebody his size and having to learn, you know, counter moves. But at the same time, he looks right. He really does. And then I guess the other thing that we really haven't talked about is your guy, Tory Taylor, right? You know, his first punt.
A lot of people are saying he should get a game ball too. Yeah,
well, he somewhat outkicked his coverage on the first punt. Like, he boomed it so far that it gave the ability, for, a nice return. But then he had the ball where he punted from like the 30-yard line and got it to the 10. And maybe that punt should have been fielded. Instead, it rolls to the 10. So Tory Taylor continues to be pretty impressive. That's it. That's all I got.
No, it's good.
We all silly like the mayor.